Pity the poor creatures of the West. Again they find themselves sinking in the quicksand that is the Middle East, blown about by the caprices of Gaza, jarred by the sectarian explosions in Iraq. What next for these poor, poor devils? This is the thanks they get for pulling this wretched region into the bosom of technology? If they can't set things right soon, they will have to drill all the way to the center of the earth to quench their thirst for oil. The latest wrinkle in the region's many folds is the growth of a rather large tumor called ISIS. This group of Sunni-minded Islamists seeks to be the unifying actor for the Arab world writ large, going so far as to declare themselves the next caliphate. How ironic, then, that the only unifying effect might be on those that seek its demise. You know, my patient for years has been prattling on that only belligerent aliens from outer space could save humanity from committing self-genocide. Well, perhaps ISIS are those aliens. Will the specter of ISIS, spreading its fanatical gospel in the region's oil-fertile fields and gumming up the gears of global economics and technological progress, actually bring the bickering interests of the world together in common purpose? And what about us? Shouldn't we seek to help the diabolical ISIS repel all voices of moderation and reason? After all, they embody some of the finest values from a group we have seen in some time. They embrace violence as an early and preeminent solution. They have a clear Manichaean outlook on society and its governance. They believe that the enemy, pet-named Allah, exclusively speaks to and for them. And to top it off, they value the afterlife for all the wrong reasons. 72 virgins. My, oh my, not down here, old boy. So, while the West may have made a sacrament of greed, it is ISIS that enshrines intolerance, the most delicious sin of all. Well then, let us play what the humans like to call devil's advocate. And let's start with the alien motif my patient is so fond of spewing. For the West and wannabes of the West, ISIS presents a golden opportunity. First, demonize these medievalists, which should be easy enough as we have well-schooled humans in this. Next, get antagonistic actors such as Iran and the United States to marshal their political, economic, and militaristic forces to neuter ISIS. In fact, there's already some movement afoot to do so, I believe. Finally, ensure that sectarian foes throughout the region come together to form a true, non-didactic trans-Arab mindset that would reveal ISIS for the apocalyptic creed that it is. Who knows? Even Palestinians and Israelis might finally come to see each other in a more forgiving light, thanks to the contrast provided by the so-called caliphate. Now, I must warn you that with the opposition so clearly defined, the possibilities for human contact and comity increase exponentially among those allied against this alien invasion. The unexpected humanity, which can only come from personal and physical contact, well, it can shatter walls, shrink distance, and before you know it, it becomes obvious, even to these fools, that they are of the same species first and foremost, all their differences being so much noise and claptrap. Clearly, the whole process would be good for the soul of humanity, good for the enemy, though humiliating for us. And ISIS would be gifted with the martyrdom it has been so keenly seeking. I think I know what you must be thinking. That whatever is good for the enemy and his loathsome little creatures is bad for us, yes? Therefore, per our training, we must do the opposite by supporting ISIS in its goal to create a caliphate. Well, seems an obvious play. So let's play with it. If successful, ISIS would establish a Hobbesian stranglehold on much of the Asian European landmass, foment a cessation of wars. An indefinite period of tyrannical order would follow. Traditions of servitude and oppression would be institutionalized, and at long last, that part of the world could finally catch its collective breath. There's always a downside, isn't there? But all in all, the war ends, the bad guys win, and all is well on earth and in hell. Now, I have just made a solid case for supporting ISIS, an enemy's enemy if there ever was one. But I will not recommend it. Surprised? May I remind you that while victory in war is enjoyable, a war without end is infinitely more so. The seeds for endless war were sown decades ago, and its roots are tangling nicely, slowly strangling their precious blue planet. As their fanciful philosopher Voltaire fancied saying, "It is the best of all possible worlds, oui? Oui. But enough fantasy. We are not quite there yet. In the meantime, what is to be done? My recommendation, do nothing, or almost nothing. We need not take sides. I've already outlined what could result should we do so. I believe our most appealing strategy is one we helped develop for the Jewish-Palestinian problem. One side has the capacity to annihilate the other, but will not because of outside pressures. The other is weak, but still angry enough to predictably throw rocks and debris at its oppressor. Meanwhile, cuts and bruises, occasionally augmented by a solid shellacking, but not a devastating one, continue to plague both parties with no end in sight. I see no reason not to adopt this model, substituting the West and its allies for the Jews, and ISIS and its few sympathizers for the Palestinians. Endless skirmishes, negotiations, broken treaties, etc. In short, endless war. And all we have to do is to make sure they stop short of fully committing to a plan that might actually succeed, whether it be one through diplomatic channels or military might. You must never forget how well we have accustomed them to thinking that somehow they can have it both ways. Time, as always, is on our side, and with its gradual passing, self-immolation seems inevitable. That is all.